Hello and welcome back to the Modest Bombshell. I am the Modest Bombshell, and in today's video I want to chat about the recent uprising of, I'm a little late to the conversation, but I still want to add my 2 cents. So I'm going to be talking about Black women who are intending to date interracially and have gone public on the internet with their intentions and the blowback they are receiving for it. So, some time ago, there was a Black woman on TikTok who posted a video of her saying that she would now be considering dating non-Black men. She explained her reasoning for why, and then after that, she was berated, she was accosted, she received vitriol, hate, and I think death threats as well. So I'm going to play the clip for those of you who have not seen it, or just to give you a little recap of what I'm going to be discussing today. Here's the clip.
Today marks the day that I will be dating outside of my race. And I know what you're about to say. Aren't you pro-Black? I am. But as a dark-skinned Black woman, the most hate I get is from my own men. And me restricting myself to only dating Black men is giving me little to no options. Because there's only like a small group of Black men who actually like women like me. And trust me, I've been trying to educate Black men about colorism, futurism, texturism my whole damn life. I do it on my platform every day. But a lot of them choose to stay dense and ignorant. And I'm sorry, but you're not about to ask me to wait for these men to stop being colorists. I cannot wait any longer for these men to stop the self-hatred. I want to go where I'm wanted. I'm tired of sitting in places where I'm not wanted.
So the young lady in the video basically said in the clip that she has had some kind of not very nice, not very palatable experiences while dating Black men. It would now consider expanding her options. So in today's video, I want to explain what may happen when you date interracially, as well as what you can do to combat the criticism that you receive when you start dating interracially, that you may receive, as well as why more Black women should consider dating interracially, and why you should also keep it to yourself, most importantly. And then finally, some things that you will always need to consider when dating interracially. It's not going to be in this order, but this is just what I'm going to talk about today. So the first topic, I've got 4 main points for why you should date out. And they are as follows. The first being, you are a woman. That's reason number 1 for why you should date interracially. 2, your race comes second. This is something that must be considered. 3, your allegiance to your specific race only serves one purpose, and I'll get into what that purpose is. And then finally, why you should date out is your opportunity of choice. Probably my favorite part. So first, you are a woman. So what does this mean? You're born a woman. You are inherently and innately a woman. You are biologically, physiologically, and chemically a woman. That means all of the ingredients are there that would make you feel deeply like within your biology, within your mind, within your heart, you feel entitled to love, care, protection, provision. All women want these things. All women who desire to date men want these things. Even if you're not willing to admit that, for whatever reason, a lot of women are forced into positions where you have to be masculine, or you have to be the one who's giving the care, the protection, the love, and the provision. And you can't really talk about how you want that for yourself. So because you're entitled to these things as a woman, you're entitled to love, you're entitled to care, you're entitled to protection and provision of the man that you choose as a partner. And that is regardless of his race. You are entitled to these basic things. They are prerequisites for access to you, and they are the basic needs of your womanhood. So your allegiances should be to your womanhood first, not your race. Your womanhood is intrinsic. It is deeply entrenched. Your culture and all of that stuff, I'm going to get into that in a second, but all of that is secondary, and there's a reason for why. So if the man who can give you all the basic requirements you need, again, as a woman, that's love, care, protection, and provision, if he can give you all of that, and he just so happens to not be black, okay, that's okay. You're getting all of the basic things that you absolutely must have to be happy, fulfilled, to be loved, and to feel considered. Those are all the basic things that you need: the love, the care, the protection, the provision. What race he is, the man who is providing you those things, what race he is irrelevant, as long as he's providing you with those basic foundational needs, your security, your care. These are the things that you should be married to, not your racial or cultural group. You should be married to your womanhood and what you need as a woman first, your race second. That brings me to point number 2. Point number 2 is your race is second. Like I just said, your racial delineation and your cultural or ethnic background, these should and will play a part in your husband picking decisions, but it should play a secondary factor. It should come second. Your culture, your roots, and how you perform your blackness. These are all things that you will learn. You grow up, you are encultured in your racial group and in your ethnic group, and you learn how to perform your blackness within your community. Womanhood, again, is intrinsic. It is inherently a part of you. Your biology and the chemicals in your brain and the hormones that is released from your reproductive organs that directly affects your brain and your thinking. These things are deeply ingrained. Your racial group, the group that you're a part of, it doesn't have that same effect on your body. It doesn't have that effect in your brain, the chemicals released from your brain. It doesn't have that effect on the hormones being released from your reproductive organs. Your womanhood does. And for that reason, it should be first and your race second. Your needs as a woman is profoundly important and far more important than your needs as a black woman. That is something that you are born into and you learn. Your womanhood is something that you were born with. You don't learn it. You grew up into it and it comes upon you and it falls upon you. No one really has to teach you how to be a woman, you just are. And how to perform womanhood, you just are, So it's instinctual, the connection that you feel to needing security and care. That is hardwired into your biology. You can't forego that. And I cannot stress that enough, because it is hardwired into your biology, your need for security and care. It should be your priority. It should be number one. It should be what you're looking for in the guy that you're dating first. So for this reason, your racial category is a secondary factor. Your basic and intrinsic needs should be met first. I feel like I'm a broken record, but I just want to say it enough so you're getting it. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't important, of course, that you share common or agreeable political, social, and cultural values with the guy that you're dating, regardless of his race. But what I am saying is that you should be vetting the man you choose for his ability to supply your basic needs first. Everything else will come second. Okay? When you're going into dating the guy, your first question shouldn't be, is this man also black like me? No, your first question, regardless of his race, your first question can this man provide me with my basic needs? The love, the care, the protection, the provision. Keep coming back to that. Security. Okay? Can he provide me with these first? He can? Okay, now we can worry about how we line up culturally. Second. So, number 3, your allegiance to your race serves only one purpose. Your allegiance to your race, to your racial group, only serves the purpose that it is, or the purpose that it serves is that of cultural preservation. Preserving your language, your customs, your beliefs, your traditions. This is why one may feel compelled to date within their racial group, to preserve their culture. And that's okay, that's fine, and that's understandable. But this idea that you can't also preserve your culture while dating interracially is a little wonky to me. Of course you can, especially if the guy that you're dating doesn't have any sort of biases, and you explore each other's cultures freely and gladly. You want to explore each other's cultures. So the idea of allegiance, simply because you two share a skin, is absurd. And it completely ignores the reality of abuse within our specific racial group that Black women are typically the recipients of. So to say I only date Black men without giving any regards as to whether that Black man can provide your basic needs, I don't want to say them again, is ridiculous. So you're only going to date the men within your racial group because they're within your racial group. Do you care at all about whether those men in your racial group can provide you with your basic needs? Why aren't you thinking about that first? That should be number one in your head. Can you provide these basic needs? If not, on to the next. Good luck to him, but moving on. So remember, keep coming back to point number one. Your basic needs are biologically wired, and if they go unmet, you will be unhappy. You will feel unfulfilled. You will be discontented. You'll be grumpy. You'll be moody. You'll be forced to provide your basic needs for yourself. And in doing so, it forces you into this sort of masculine disposition. It forces you to disassociate with your womanhood and be more like men in order to provide yourself with the things that you want as a woman. So keep that in mind. Keep coming back to point number one. It's what you need, your basic foundational needs. And to forego your basic foundational needs, all to be loyal to the Black man you were dating or the Black men that you have around you, who's to say any of them will be able to meet your basic needs? Who's to say any of them will treat you with respect and care and tenderness? So to forgo all of your basic needs just to date within your racial group is ridiculous. These man-made lines of separation that we create that keeps us within these boundaries of, oh no, I can't date that guy even though that guy has everything that I need. He's not the same race as me. So I gotta come over here and deal with whatever madness I'm dealing with over here because these men are the same race as me, even though my experience with these men might not be a very good one. The greater universe, I put this, it's a little corny, but the greater universe does not care about racial categories and the importance of sticking to them. These are all human constructs that in the greater cosmic scheme of all things are unimportant. Okay, and if you allow yourself to be bound to these constructed lines of separation, you deprive yourself of the main privilege of womanhood, which brings me to the next and final point of this segment, the video, which is your opportunity of choice. Oh my God, the funnest part for me of womanhood is having the opportunity of choice, which is something that you have, and I hate to admit this, but it's something that you have in your youth. And as you get older, your opportunity of choice begins to dwindle, which is why you should not dawdle. You shouldn't waste your time. You should be considering all your options whoever they may be, regardless of their race, because you don't have the time to waste. Your dating market value decreases as you get older. Sorry, that such is the world that we live in. So make the most of the time that you have right now. Stop wasting your time trying to wait for the right Black man to come into your life. I'm not saying that they're not out there, they probably are, but you might be waiting around forever for him to appear. Meanwhile, there's a non-Black man here and there who's interested in you and might have everything that you're looking for. And you're gonna say no because why? Because of your loyalty and your marriage to your race first instead of your womanhood first? Anyway, I'm a little passionate about this topic, so I'm kind of getting off topic, but point number 4, your opportunity of choice. As women, we do control access to sex and reproduction. Who gets to have sex and who doesn't? It's controlled entirely by women. Not enough women know this. And as a result, we have the privilege of choosing who gets access to sex and reproduction and who does not. And the opportunity of choice is a cool one. It's a fun one because you get, all these guys kind of lining up to prove that they're the one for you. And it's flattering, but it's also paralyzing, but enjoyable. And when you have a lot of potential suitors to choose from, especially when you're young and you're unburdened by children, it can be a little tough to choose the right guy for you, which is why you should always have those basic things in mind. Can he provide me with my basic needs? Does he have the potential to be a good husband, good father? Does he have good qualities, good values? That helps you kind of weed out all the guys who might be lining up for their shot with you. But your opportunity of choice dwindles not only as you age, not only as you get older as women, unfortunately. It's the reality of the world we live in. Make the most of it, don't complain about it. The opportunity of choice begins to limit itself not only as you get older, but it also limits itself when you limit yourself to one specific group of men. Okay, when you also limit the possibility of meeting the right man for you by limiting yourself to just one specific group of men, your chances of getting stuck with the wrong men are greatly increased when you say to yourself, no, I refuse to date outside of my race. I refuse to date other men who might be good for me because blackness and my blackness and all of that Pan-African stuff, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But at the same time, if that's what you want to do, can you really complain about your opportunity of choice getting further and further away and decreasing more and more as you get older because you haven't met the right guy yet? Date out. That's what it's there for you for, okay? You never know. Your hero, your white knight, he might just be of a different racial orientation than you. And imagine having deprived yourself of that opportunity of being with a good guy simply because you were married to your race first and not your womanhood first. Okay? A lot of black women don't really experience being courted or considered, and far too many black women are used to being the initiator and the driver and the chaser. But when you start aligning yourself with the needs of your womanhood first, you turn all of that on its head. Regardless of the man's race, you're looking for your basic needs to be met, regardless of his race. And when you do that, you no longer need to be the initiator, the driver, the chaser, and you get to be the one who's courted and considered, which a lot of you don't want to admit, but you're women, and that is what women want. And I'm here to tell you, as a woman who knows her kind and who knows her kind well, that is truly what you want. You want to be considered. You want to be the dainty lady who is taken care of by her guy. And you can't do that if the men around you are not providing your basic needs, and you're having to chase them and tell him to act right and be better, be a better man to you, instead of just going, okay, you're not what I'm looking for, I'm on to the next, and I'm going to consider my other options, so as to not waste my time and maximize my opportunity of choice while I have it. Okay, so if you don't place your needs as a woman first, but instead your allegiance to your racial group, you may very well find yourself sticking by a black man who is not good for you and starves you of your basic feminine needs. But you stay because he's black and you're black and blah, 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 whatever. That's just how it sounds to me. He's black, I'm going to stay with him even though I'm starving for my basic needs to be met. It's crazy. You're doing yourself a disservice by staying where your needs are not being met. However, that does not mean you're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, if he is black and he's the right guy for you, great. If he is non-black and he's the right guy for you, also great. Because what you're here for is not his race, but can he provide those basic needs? As long as your basic needs are being met first and foremost, all else will come later, will come second. Okay, so we're done with that segment. Let's move into the next segment, which is where we're going to talk about why you should keep who you are dating to yourself. And I have two main points. The first being, it is nobody's business. And the second being, you invite criticism when you tell people. Okay, so point number one, it's no one's business. As I stated before, it is your prerogative as a woman. It is your duty to vet the men who are in front of you and around you. You hold the keys to the kingdom. You hold the keys to reproduction, to access to sex, and thusly, it is your prerogative to choose wisely and exercise your opportunity of choice as you see fit, and who will be the right partner for you for your life. So as such, you have two basic questions that you have to find the answer to when you're dating. And the first question is, does this man have what it takes to be a good husband? Regardless of his race, can he fulfill that first role? Question number two, does this man have what it takes to be a good father? Regardless of his race, can he fulfill that basic role? If yes, move forward, getting to know him. If no, trash. Next, moving on. Good luck to you. I'm gonna go over here and you go over there. It is your business and yours alone to find out the answer to those questions. Because at the end of the day, regardless of his race, nobody will have to start a life with that man except you. So if you pick him and you choose him to start your life with, you'll be the one starting your life with him. You'll be the one having his children. You'll be the one who's married to the guy, starting your life with this guy. And as such, it is your concern and your concern alone what race he may be, if that's important to you, and all that other stuff. You'll be the one mothering his kids, so it's really not anyone else's business because they're not the ones starting their life with this man, you are. So it's your concern and it's your concern alone, and for that reason, you should keep it to yourself. You don't need to talk to other people about it. I'm not saying that you don't need to consider counsel. An outside opinion is sometimes helpful when you're trying to make such a huge decision. Should I get serious with this guy? But the counsel that you seek should be in regards to his character, his virtues, his values, those things only. Anything else should be inconsequential to a third party, like his race. What does it matter what his race is? If he can be a good husband to me, good father to our potential children, he has good virtues, good quality of character, why does it matter what his race is? So keep it to yourself. It's nobody's business. They don't need to know. At the end of the day, you're going to be the one dealing with the guy, not them. Okay. Now, point 2, you invite criticism when you make it other people's business. Okay? When you make who you are dating or who you're intending to date other people's business, you invite critique. You invite criticism. Like the young lady that we viewed in the footage just a while ago. She told everybody what she's planning to do, what her prerogative is as a woman, which is to choose the right guy for her and date around until she meets the right guy. That's her prerogative. That's her job as a woman, to make sure she's making the right decision for herself. But she decided to go and tell everybody, which she didn't need to do. Because again, that's her business. She's a woman. She has the right to lean on her opportunity of choice to make sure she's making the right decision for herself. And she doesn't need to justify that to other people, but she took it upon herself to do so. And as such, all this criticism came in. And she was met with all this critique and criticism and argument and debate. So that's what happens when you make your business other people's business. It doesn't need to be their business. Okay, when you allow all the other people around you into your big life decisions, you are also going to invite with them their opinions and their emotional feelings about it. If you're making a big life decision for yourself, a big life change for yourself, keep it to yourself. Keep your reason for doing it to yourself. Why do they need to know? Ask yourself that. For what reason do other people need to know if they don't? So, tip it. Okay, when you over-explain yourself, you come across as if you are looking for feedback and debate and somebody's 2 cents, and you're looking for someone to offer a retort. Don't over-explain yourself. You're dating this white guy because you are, and that's it. And leave it at that. You're dating this Latino or this whatever, whoever else you're dating because you like them, and it has nothing to do with their race. And that way you deter all of that from happening. You deter people from sticking their nose in your business and asking you, well, why, what for, and who, what. It's none of their business, okay? So keep it to yourself. If you want to expand your horizons and you want to date out and all of that, that is your prerogative as a woman to explore your options, and it is nobody's business. It is a private matter. No one needs to know. Now, let's get into segment number 3, the 3rd segment of this video. Okay, now we're in segment 3 of this video, and in this part of the video, I want to talk about the things you should always consider when you're dating interracially, as well as some things that you need to consider when you're dating within your respective race, but especially when you're dating interracially. So I've got 2 main points for what you need to consider. The first being divesting, or saying I'm divesting. We're going to get into the problem that I have with that. And then the second part is, the second point that I want to talk about is when race should be a factor. These are the things you need to consider when you're dating interracially, or before you start dating interracially, rather. So point number 1, I'm divesting. I'm divesting. I hate this so much. The issue that I have with proclaiming out loud that you're divesting is a couple. The first one being, why are you making it other people's business? That's the first one. Shush up. Stop telling people that you're divesting. The second is, it makes you appear equally as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as the black men who date interracially just to spite black women. The black men who get on the internet and blase, I'm dating white women because black women are X, Y, and Z. And do you know how the internet treats those men? We get on the internet and we clown them for getting online and making a fool of themselves like that. They get dragged for filth for getting online and saying stuff like that. And when y'all say, I'm divesting, I'm not dating black anymore because they're this and this and this and that, I'm gonna date white guys now. Y'all sound the exact same. I don't think y'all realize what y'all sound the same way. Maybe it's because women are saying it, and so because, you know, it doesn't have all the vitriol behind it the way that black men tend to do. Black men tend to spew pure hatred. But with black women who's like, I'm divesting, it's more exhaustion that we're hearing. I'm exhausted from dealing with these men. I want to try out my options over here. Okay, that's fine, but it's still the same thing. Okay, so on top of it being nobody's business, you also sound crazy. So stop saying it, please. It also sounds like a threat. I'm divesting, but it's an empty threat. To say I'm divesting and then to stick around and cape for the men that are mistreating you, it's a threat. It's like saying, if you don't start behaving, I'm gonna leave, so you better stop. And you start scooting out like, I will do it, I will leave, so you better start behaving yourself. Like, you know, if you're gonna date out, do it. Stop talking about it, just do it. Because it sounds like you're threatening these guys. And what happens when you threaten to take something away and then you don't? The person that you're threatening doesn't respect you. The person that you're threatening, they don't care that you're threatening them because they know you're not going anywhere. Girl, you're gonna stay here and deal with my crap. You're just upset. You'll be fine after a little while and you'll be back. That's how these guys think in their head when you say stuff like that. So keep it to yourself. Don't say it, do it. You know, if you're gonna date interracially, get out there, put yourself out there. Consider your options when they present themselves to you. Just do it. And so that's the third, is that it sounds like a threat, but an empty threat. And it's comical and it's laughable and nobody's taking you seriously. And then fourth, when you get online, it publicly, when you get on the internet and you start saying, I'm divesting, black men are this, I'm divesting, it looks messy. It looks like, okay, y'all can't handle your drama. Everybody else in the world is looking at how black men are tearing down black women and how black women are exhausted and are one foot out the door. Everybody in the world is looking and they're thinking to themselves, this is a mess. These people got so much drama going on. It's messy. And you're doing it publicly. You're taking your private affairs and doing it public. And I understand the wanting to find resonance, wanting to find others who feel the same way as you, who share the same experiences, who can say, yeah, this is happening to black women. This is happening. We're experiencing this from black men and we want to consider our options. So I get wanting to look for your peers, but I think there's other ways to go about it, which I'll get into some other time maybe, but it looks messy. It looks like the Bad Girls Club type messy. It looks like Love and Hip Hop type messy. It looks messy and trashy. Like, come on, can't you handle your issues privately and not need to run to the internet every time, you know, you experience something that's unpalatable and distasteful? You know, have a little tact about how you deal with your problems. I know some of you might find that offensive, but it needs to be said. So throwing an entire racial group under the bus simply because, and this is my next point for why I don't like the whole I'm divesting thing. Throwing an entire racial group under the bus simply because you had a few bad experiences is stupid, frankly. It's silly to say, you know what, this black man treated me like this, and I look at these videos online of these black men treating black women like this, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with all of them. I'm just gonna date non-black men only now. There are some really great black men out there. I date black men. I'm not one of those I'm divesting people. I'm one of those, I'm a woman and I'm gonna date whoever I think could be a valuable partner regardless of his race. And sometimes that also includes black men. So there are some great black men out there. And I don't suggest that you wait around forever for him to appear, because he might not. And in the event that he doesn't, you want to have all your eggs lined up. All your ducks in a row. You want to be able to say, okay, I never met the right black man, but I did meet the right non-black man, whatever his race may be. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like I said earlier, if he is trash, leave him there. You don't need to divest from the entire race. Just divest from that one. He's trash, bye-bye, on to the next. The next might be a great black man. He might be a non-black man as well, which is also fine. But when you say I'm divesting and you throw the entire group under the bus and in the bin, a la poubelle, you throw them all in the bin, you decrease your opportunity of choice. What we talked about earlier, one of the great parts of being women is the privilege of having the opportunity of choice, of being able to have all these guys in front of you and go, I want that one. That one's the best one for me. You decrease your opportunity of choice when you throw an entire racial group of men under the bus, because the right man for you might be in that group. Even though you dealt with some icky ones in that particular group, the right one for you might be there. You decrease your opportunity of choice, finding the right guy for you to spend your life with when you throw all of them under the bus. So yeah, I would advise against doing that. This is what I don't like about the whole divestment thing. It convinces black women to decrease their opportunities of picking the right man. Just stop dealing with that one particular guy. So next, what I hate about the whole I'm divesting thing is how you appear to your potential matches who are non-black. So when you say I'm divesting, like I said earlier, when you say that, you look like the black men who say the same thing. I date white women because black women are X, Y, and Z. You look like them. And to white women who are privy, they don't deal with those types of black men, because those white women know that they are not going to be his step up. They're not going to be his stepping stone, his tool to tell his own women of his own race that he doesn't like them. There are white women out there who don't deal with those types of black men, and rightfully so. Now flip the table. How do you think it appears when you as a black woman is saying things like, I'm divesting, I'm not going to date black men, they're X, Y, and Z, I'm only going to date these men. Those men are also going to think the same thing. They're going to think, what, this woman is only dating me because she doesn't want to date the men of her own particular race? What does that mean? Is she using me as a step up? Is she using me as a stepping ladder to get away from her own race, to divest from her own race? I don't want to be her take it out, her get out of jail free card. And rightfully so. So saying I'm dating interracially solely because I don't want to deal with black men anymore, it might scare off a potentially good match. And that's understandable, because what the hell are you saying you're only using me because you don't want to date black men at all? That's it? That's the only reason why you're dating me? You're not dating me because you like me? You're dating me because I'm not black? So stop with that. Stop with the I am divesting, because you might very well scare off a potentially good match. If he has any self-respect at all, he might not want to deal with you at all for only wanting to date him because he's not a black guy. And I wouldn't blame him for wanting to separate himself from you for that. So, how would you feel if you're dating a non-black man and he says to you, yeah, I don't date women of my race because they're X, Y, and Z. That's why I only date black women. At first you might think, oh, that's flattering. But then you're going to go, oh, wait, hold on. What, do you even like me? You're only dating me because I'm not one of the women of your race? What does that mean? So, yeah, you don't want to make these men who like you feel like they're your scapegoat. That's not a nice way to feel. So for that reason, try not to make race a part of your dating motives. Try not to make divesting a part of your dating motives. Okay? Side note. Men, this is important, because when you say all that divesting stuff, you're talking about your trauma, and men don't want to know that you have been traumatized or used by other men. They don't want to know that. It depreciates your marketplace value. If the non-black man that you're dating must know your experiences dating black men, and he likely wants to know because he's probably dated other black women who talked about how much they didn't like dating black men, and he wants to know if your headspace is in that same area. So he's asking, what was your experience as dating black men? So if he asks and he wants to know, I guess you have to share. However, you don't need to air out all your business. You can keep a respectful air about you. You don't have to bring up any traumatic experiences because it's unflattering and it's a turnoff to men. They don't want to hear about how you've been used and abused by other men. So if in the event the non-black man that you're dating asks, okay, you can say what your experience has been, but keep it general. Don't go too in-depth. You can keep it general and just say something like, oh yeah, I've dated black men before. The last one that I dated, you know, our personalities were too different. We really didn't get along after a couple of dates, and so we just decided to respectfully stop seeing each other and then brush it off and change the subject. Okay? Don't have a mental breakdown in front of this guy. Save that for your therapist. Okay. Point number 2. Point number 2. Should race be a factor? Or, excuse me, when should race be a factor? Okay, so race and interracial dating should become a factor if, these are one of the reasons why it should become, there's a few, this is number 1. Number 1, if the non-black man, this is the most imperative, if the non-black man that you are dating may have some sort of racially based bias, whatever that may be, however severe it may be, whatever form it takes, and if not, you need to do anything about it. That is the first time race needs to become a factor. It's the first reason why. It is the most pressing reason for why race should become a factor. And also keep in mind his family. If his family members, even if he doesn't have any racially based biases, even if he is all green, 100% good to go, you have nothing to worry about with him, but his family has some issues and they have some racially motivated bias, you might want to consider dating someone else. Because for me, if I can't at least get along, you know, on a basic level with your family, that's going to be an issue in the long run, I think. Especially if you're getting serious with this guy, or like you're married, you're having kids, and his parents don't like you because you're black. That's an issue. So you might want to consider leaving that person alone. Okay? If it's something like a basic misconception and they ask you about it respectfully, you can decide whether or not in that situation, whether or not you want to deal with that and forgive that, as long as everything is respectful and it's not nothing egregious. you. So maybe it's like, oh, you know, your natural hair, it's so beautiful. I've never met anyone who wears it that way. Mind if I touch it? Is it okay? I don't want to invade your personal space. Everything's respectful. Nobody said anything wrong. Okay, you can forgive that if you want. That's not so bad. But obviously, if it's disrespect, you gotta walk. No exceptions. Okay, your mental and emotional state is not worth risking just to date interracially. And side note that goes along with this, never ever ever feel that you have a lack of abundance. Do not have a lack of abundance mindset. Okay, you have an abundance of choices, especially while you're still in your youth. If you're a bachelorette, you don't have any kids, you have even more of an abundance of choices than most others. Sorry, that's the truth. I know you hate to hear it. Some of you might hate to hear that, but it's such as the way life is. So in the event you experience disrespect, you can walk away without feeling hesitation or fear, because you don't have this lacking mindset. Like, oh no, if I walk away from this guy, I won't have anyone else. No, if that guy's being disrespectful, walk. Get you another one. Okay, because you have an abundance of choices, and if you remind yourself that, it won't ever be a problem to walk away. So keep that in mind when you're dating, regardless of his race. That is something that you always want to keep in mind. Another time to bring up race is when you are deciding to have children. Now, before you get to this point, there should be something here, obviously, if you're having children by this man. But if you get to the point where you're very, very serious with him, married, and now y'all are considering children, this is going to be another time where race is going to come up. Because now that you're bringing a child into the world, the question will arise, how will the child be raised? And whose culture will the child be raised? Both of our cultures? If so, let's talk about how we're going to enculture the child in our respective cultures, in our respective languages, in our respective customs, what have you, traditions. So that's another time that race is going to come up. And that doesn't have to be a bad experience. That can be a great learning experience for everyone involved. So that's another time when race is going to spring up, when you'll have to deal with that, when you're having kids by the man who's not of the same race as you, and you have to have that conversation. Finally, you should always, and I cannot stress this enough, always, and this is regardless of his race. I told you there was going to be some of that in this segment. Regardless of his race, you want to always try and eke out how he really feels about you. Are you his type, basically? How does he really feel about your skin tone? If you have darker skin complexion like me, how does he feel about your Afrocentric features, your hair, if you wear your hair natural? Find out, if you can, if he's colorist, featurist, or other. This is another time that race is gonna come up, when you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your feelings, and you're not getting into a relationship with the man who really doesn't even consider you his type, as that is emotional damage when you find out something like that. So you don't want to start dating some guy, whether he's black or not black, just to find out that he really doesn't like you for real. You're really not his type for real. And you're just a placeholder for him. That's awful, and I don't wish that on any of you. So this is one particular reason why race should and will come up, and you should allow it to come up to keep yourself safe. Okay? This should be applied to all men, regardless of what racial orientation he is. Okay, now let's get into the next segment, which is how to defend yourself against criticism. Our last and final segment, how to defend yourself against criticism when it arises. I have two main points. The first is avoid making it about race. It's the first tip to avoiding criticisms that people will throw at you for dating interracially is to avoid making it about race. And two, plan your retort. Practice your retort. Practice your rebuttal for when you do experience it. Let's get into it. So the first one, avoid making it about race. Naturally, we cannot expect everyone to be modern and cognizant of the world that we live in now, the globalized world that we live in now. There's still a lot of people out there with antiquated and outdated beliefs about race. Even though we live in a globalized world now, where everyone has some kind of link these days, we're all connected in some way in our quickly changing world, there are still some people who are very much against the idea of interracial dating. It's like, it's crazy, but there's still some people who are against it. Vehemently against it, very vocally against it. So the first way to deter these people and their criticisms from ignorant and antiquated people is to avoid making your decision to date interracially about race. You are and this goes back into what we talked about earlier, you are a woman. You have a right to partner with a good man. His race, regardless, doesn't matter what his race is. Is he a good guy to you? Can he be a good guy to any children that you two may have together? If so, his race doesn't matter. It doesn't matter too much later, right? So make your decision to date interracially all about you wanting to date a good guy and not about you divesting from your race. Okay, because when you make it about divestment, you might incur some wrath, which is kind of understandable, because it's like, why? You're gonna throw your entire race under the bus? How do you think that makes you look? And how do you think that's gonna make people who share the same skin as you feel devalued? Especially if you're coming across people who are good, who haven't done anything wrong. They're gonna feel like, what? You're throwing all of us under the bus? Why? For what? They're gonna ask you questions, they're gonna criticize, and they're gonna wanna know why. So don't make it about race. That way you don't have to deal with that. It has nothing to do with race. I'm not throwing all black men under the bus. I'm just dating this guy because I like him. I like him and he's nice to me. And that's why. It has nothing to do with race. And then they're not going to feel compelled to ask you, well, why are you dating? What's so wrong with black men? They're not going to feel compelled to ask you that because you're not making it about that. So avoid making it about race, okay? Otherwise, you'll open up the floor for people within your respective race to rebuttal and to critique and to socially alienate you. And you don't want that either. You want to still maintain your connection to your culture, even when you're dating interracially. You don't have to throw it all away. I date interracially, but I don't do it to spite black men. I don't ever go around to the non-black men that I date and say, I'm only dating you because I don't date black men. And I don't say to black men, I don't date y'all. I just date non-black men. Because naturally, if I said that, they're gonna come at me with some sort of rebuttal. The same way that black women have smoke for black men who don't date black women. You'll feel the same way. It's like, why throw all of us under the bus? It's, keep it to yourself. Okay, so keep that in mind. Just avoid making it about race, and then you won't have to deal with those types of criticisms. Now next, sometimes you are going to get the criticism regardless. You're going to deal with ignorant people, you're going to deal with racist people who don't like to see interracial relationships. And how do you combat that? So I've got a few anecdotes. The first one, my own experience is dealing with criticism and how I dealt with it. So the first one time, a few years ago, I had a date with an Italian man, and he was taking me to dinner, to a night dinner, and my black male friend at the time, we're not friends anymore, he had to, of course, voice his concern. He said to me, and this is all verbatim, I remember it very vividly, he said, "You're dating a white man? He's Italian? You're gonna be careful. Those Italian men, you gotta be careful. Those Italian men, they sexualize and fetishize black women." And my response to him was, he's a man. Men sexualize women, period. It's just in general, regardless of his race. If he's a heterosexual man and you are a conventionally attractive woman, likelihood is at some point in time he's gonna sexualize you inside of his head. That's just what it is. That's just how they are. He's gonna have some sexually charged thoughts about you inside of his mind in one way or another. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're a black woman and he's non-black and he's having these sexually charged thoughts about you. He's a man or woman, that's going to happen regardless. So that's not an argument to me. Because what does that mean about black men? Do black men not fetishize black women and sexualize black women? Because they do. Open up your eyes, look at the internet, look at the content that's being pushed to us with black men, these rappers, and the women that they have in their videos, typically black women, scantily clad, covered in oil. That's fetishizing. Black men do it too, so that's not an argument. A second critique that you might hear is someone trying to really deter you from dating interracially by playing up some unsavory characteristics about a person that you don't want to experience. Leaning on your trauma, that's the sick part. Some of these people will lean on your trauma as a black woman and make you feel like if you date interracially, you're going to experience colorism even more, as if you don't already within your own respective group. Come on. So you're going to have some people who try to lean on the fact that you're that you have these traumas of dealing with colorism and being stereotyped as being aggressive and stuff like that. So your response to this type of thing, to this type of criticism, should be, oh, well, I mean, if he's colorist, black men are also colorist. Black men also stereotype black women as being aggressive, combative, hypersexual or loud, making us feel inadequate about our skin tone, our Afrocentric features. Black men do it too. So why do you think that it's just non-black men who do it? Because it's not. Regardless of his race, if he's disrespectful to me, he's trash. I'm not going to deal with him. It doesn't matter what his race is. If he's going to be disrespectful, colorist, featurist, texturist, all of that, racist, I'm not going to deal with the guy because that's disrespectful. And it doesn't matter what his race is, if he's black or non-black and he's doing that to me. He's trash. He's going in the bin. Period. Hard stop. Right there. Hard stop. That's all the explanation that you need. Why would you deal with any man that mistreats you, no matter what his race is? That is not, to me, a sound criticism. Okay? Because black men do it too, so stop it. Now, then, another critique that you might deal with, and this is one that I have been asked before. This is another one that you might deal with. And someone might ask you, well, what is it that non-black men do for you? What do they do for you? What do they do for you that a brother can't do for you? Why can't you date a black guy? I've been asked this before. And my response is always very simple and cute. Because again, you don't want to over-explain yourself, because when you over-explain yourself, you invite criticism, right? So keep it cute, keep it simple. I'm dating him because I like him. He's kind to me. He's respectful to me. He's considerate of me. And then stop. Don't explain further, because the more explanation you give, the likelihood is you're going to slip up and say something, and then that person is going to rush in and bombard you with argument and rebuttal and debate, and you'll be sucked into this whole back and forth with this person, and you don't want that. You want to get out of that. So keep your argument to this particular type of criticism short and sweet and simple. Okay? Don't over-explain yourself. So to wrap up, don't take every opportunity to make why you are dating a non-black man about race or about divesting. You invite all types of problems when you do that. So don't do it. Like we discussed earlier, you open the floor to debate when you over-explain and make your business public. If you don't want to explain yourself, shush. Stop talking about it. Just live your life. It's your prerogative. You don't need to tell people. Okay? Again, another one is the non-black man that you're dating will also feel like he's your scapegoat, and you don't want to scare off a potential good match by making everything about race. Okay? If he's a quality guy, you don't want to give him that impression, because you might lose him. If he has any self-respect at all, he won't want to be your tool to spite black men. He's going to remove himself, which rightfully so. You would feel the same way. So make it less about race and more about how he treats you as a person, his quality of character, regardless of his race. Even if you're dating solely for the purpose of divesting, even if that is what you're dating for, shush. Don't talk about it. Don't say that, okay? Sometimes a part of being wise is knowing when not to speak. So keep that in mind. That's a good wisdom to leave all of this on. Yeah. So I'm going to leave on this little piece of wisdom. Okay, sometimes a part of being wise is knowing when not to talk. Okay, and I will leave you with that. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's topic, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay in the know when I upload more videos, and I will see you next time. Ciao for now.